Werewolves. The movie Wolfman is not simply a remake of the 1941 film The Wolfman, but without the "the." Director Leigh Whannell is the same guy that directed the remake of The Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss, where he took a well-tread story and turned it on its head. With Wolfman, he said he wrote down everything werewolf movies had done in the past and called it his list of things not to do. Leigh warns that this monster does not look like the werewolves we're used to, inflicted not by a curse, but by a werewolf virus. Werewolves. Japanese engineer Toru Uda likes to wind down from a busy week by putting on his $23,000 wolf suit. He stresses that he doesn't wear the wolf outfit for fancy dress parties, cosplay, or to casually walk down the streets of Tokyo. He simply slips it on to relax and forget all his troubles. He says that when he wears the costume, he no longer feels human. However, he is very adamant to state that he is not a werewolf because that's a kind of monster, and he's not a monster. Werewolves. Ex-policeman Mikhail Popkov, also known as the Werewolf, is the fourth worst serial killer in the world, with 86 confirmed victims between 1992 and 2010. However, police believe the actual number is closer to 200. He has recently volunteered to join the army to fight Ukrainians, which would mean his freedom after 6 months, if he remains alive. No word on whether his wish will be granted. It is estimated that over 170,000 convicted violent criminals have been recruited by Putin to fight for Russia in the war. Werewolves. American Werewolf in London was the first film to win the Academy Award for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. The Oscar went to Rick Baker. His work on the werewolf transformation still holds up after 40 years. Michael Jackson loved the movie so much that he called up director John Landis and said he wanted to work with him and Baker on his next music video. You guessed it, Thriller. Michael's only request, he wanted to turn into a monster. Thriller almost didn't see the light of day. Jackson, then a Jehovah's Witness, was told by the organization's leaders that the music video promoted demonology and that he would be excommunicated if he released it. In the end, there was a compromise, and Jackson added this disclaimer at the beginning. Werewolves. Hitler was passionate about werewolves. He named one of his Eastern Front headquarters the Wolf's Lair, and then there was Operation Werewolf. At the end of the war, as it became obvious Germany was losing, Operation Werewolf was set in motion. The werewolves were to be an elite German force that used guerrilla tactics behind enemy lines to slow down the Allied troops. 5,000 people were trained in tactics such as arson, sabotage, and assassination. They would leave this mark on buildings to create fear amongst the American and Soviet forces.
Hier spricht der Sender Werwolf.
Joseph Goebbels set up Radio Werewolf that broadcast the exploits of the werewolves. One such mission was Operation Carnival, the assassination of Mayor Franz Oppenhoff, led by werewolf Ilse Hirsch. Werewolves, hypertrichosis or werewolf syndrome, is an abnormal amount of hair growth over the body. Several circus sideshow performers in the 19th century, such as Julia Pastrana, had werewolf syndrome. It can be both congenital, from birth, or acquired later. This year, there was at least a dozen cases of babies in Europe developing werewolf syndrome. However, the cause was determined to be exposure to their father's hair loss treatment, minoxidil. Werewolves. And that's all there is to know about werewolves.
Eyes bigger than your stomach, eh, Wolfie? No.